everyone. Welcome to another episode of Maps and Metaphors. This is Pranav. I'm further in my journey in Iceland, more towards the east, and I'm staying at a beautiful campsite. And I met this wonderful lady, and I have some questions about this region, which I would like to have her answer. So let's get started. Could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, hello. My name is Hrafndis. I'm a hotel manager at Hotel Skjöldólfsstaðir in Jökuldalur, specifically in Skjöldólfsstaðir. It used to be old boarding school, my old boarding school. For the last 15 or 16 years, it's been run as a hotel. We just took over, and here we are.
Well, thank you for the introduction. My first question is about how the energy is produced here. And how is it different from the geothermal energy that is a little bit in the Maven region of Iceland, a little bit in the north? So could you please tell me?
Yeah, so most commonly people are told that everywhere in Iceland you can find hot water. Well, that's true mostly, but then in specific places in Iceland you have what we call cold spots. Cold spots in Iceland means that we do not have hot water just springing up around us, so that means that we only have cold water. We have to heat up our water with electricity. And in most of places, that's no problem because, of course, we also have green energy all around us. We have hydroelectric dams all over Iceland, and we have a great system and everything. But here in Skjöldólfsstaðir, we actually have our own private dam. It was built here back in the mid 1900s. It was really... Back then, it was a great construction, considering that, as you can see, in the middle of nowhere in Iceland. And yeah, so today still we use that electricity from that small dam here in the river next to us.
That's so interesting because it sounds to me it's a little bit privately managed and maintained. Could you please correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe throw a little bit more light to have me and my audience understand a little bit more? How does that work? I'm very much curious to hear more about it.
Yeah, well, it was built before I was born. Let's be honest. I'm really young, only 40 years old, young. So, yeah. It is absolutely privately owned. It was privately built. It was built by the farmers here in Skjöldólfsstaðir. It was a private project. It was, well, still to this day, you would think that it was an amazing project. If you think about it, you know, the nearest town is, half an hour away today. Back then, you can imagine how long it would take us to drive that. We had worse roads. We had everything was different. You couldn't just walk into the nearest shop and ask for concrete, could you? Yeah. So as you would see, if I would take and show you the house that's built around it, is more or less concrete built out of the rocks and stones in the surrounding area. But still today it works. It's a private project, it's privately owned, and we just pay the nearest farmer for the electricity.
Super interesting. That triggers one more question in my head. Okay, this is good for the spring and the summers, but during the winters, a lot of things freeze around Iceland. And how does that work? What are the backup plans? And I guess like there are a lot of backup plans, but like how is it maintained in that case? Or like does it still function? Do you have some secret mechanism which is very Icelandic and not known to the rest of the people? Could you please let me know about that?
It's absolutely the opposite. Springs and autumns are horrible. Absolutely horrible, because springs and autumns means that it either overfloods or we have so many problems in springs and autumns. During summertime, it's fine. During wintertime, mostly it's fine, you know, because even though things freeze here in Iceland. We have such a strong stream coming down the rivers that they never freeze over. But yeah, springs and autumns actually are the worst because that's when they have too much water, they have too much, grutch in it. Grutch gets stuck in the mechanism. What?
That's okay.
Yeah. Well, don't listen to what I say, listen to what I'm saying.
We are all humans. We all
humans.
we are bound to make mistakes. If it's not, we are robots. Yeah.
Well, our backup plan is that, of course, even though we have our own dam and we mostly use that, we also have a system that runs right through this countryside as it does to all the other places in Iceland. And we can switch over to that one just through a flick of a switch. So when that one goes down, I have to get up, flick to the other one. It costs us a lot more, and it does. Every time that dam goes down, I can go to the other one, but it's a lot more expensive because, again, we're in the middle of nowhere.
That's really interesting. Seriously, like it makes me wonder, how the nature, gives us so much, and how you guys are making the best out of it, and I'm just like amazed to know like the stream still runs in the winter, so you can have the maximum out of it. Well, enough of the energy. I think that's really quite a good insight I have now. I'm gonna do a little bit more of reading, and also I'll suggest my audience to do that. But it definitely triggers many more questions. Another thing about the boarding school, I did not know there are many boarding schools. Like I do know there are many boarding schools across Europe, but in Iceland, first of all, why are the boarding schools needed here, and how does it function? Which kind of families are interested in the boarding schools here? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, no problem. So today there's no functioning boarding school in Iceland. And I'm guessing that the difference of a culture, you're thinking about boarding schools in a completely different way that we did. The only reason that we had boarding schools, and they haven't had, I think this was one of the last boarding schools in Iceland. I think this one ended back in 2001 or 2. The only reason we had boarding schools was because we are in the middle of the countryside. The children were coming from far along in the farms. It was about maybe for some children about 40 kilometers drive. They wouldn't want to do that every day because, of course, back I want to say 20 years ago, but I'm guessing it was more like 30 years ago. When we did that, road constructions was totally different. Winter was totally different. We had a lot of isolation. So we we couldn't be driving children back and forth every day. Yeah. So boarding schools in Iceland existed in all rural areas of Iceland for many, many years. This was one of the last ones. As I said before, ended in 2002 or 1, I can't really remember. But we only did it out of necessity. Like, it wasn't like families would choose to do that. It was like the only option around. So
sounds very logical because if you mentioned like 30 years ago, and even before that, probably because of the harsh weather conditions and the roads being inaccessible sometimes, probably a lot of times. So this was more practical setting, and wow, I know one more thing about Iceland now. Well, thanks for mentioning that. One last thing I would like to ask is about the reindeers. I randomly read about this region, and then something popped up about reindeer, and you did mention something, so would like to ask you again, can you throw some light and give some background? What's all about reindeers here in this eastern part of Iceland? Yes.
Oh, how long do your listeners have? Like, I know everything about reindeers. So reindeers we brought in from Norway back in 1771 until 1777. We tried all different kind of regions. They would not survive, but in the end, for some reason, a group of reindeer survived here in east of Iceland. And since then, they have progressed and they're doing pretty great still today. But only in east of Iceland. And for some reason, they do not migrate to any other region of Iceland. It's a tiny little island. We nobody knows why. They have some ideas, but they have not been proven. Yeah. So we do hunt reindeers. Well, I'm born and raised here in the valley of Jökuldalur, and we come from a long line of reindeer hunters. My granddad was a reindeer hunter, my dad was, and I am as well. This is just one of those things that we did to get fresh meat, of course. But yeah, today, highly regulated. We count them every year. We decide how many we can hunt. We divide them up into 8 different area groups. And yeah, so that's what we do.
Do you think, could it be the type of grass that exists here, or maybe the kind of soil? Or it's just a random guess, because, more or less things are very similar on this island. But still, could it be that? Of course, you mentioned nothing is proven, but it's just a wild guess. What are the guesses that scientists or even people have made that could have been the possibility, why reindeers survive here and they don't want to leave this region?
Yeah. They base it specifically on one certain type of moss that it can be found here in east of Iceland. Well, of course, it can be found in different kind of regions of Iceland, but it's more of it here. I just have to confess, I'm not really sure, though. No.
Well, that's no problem. I think maybe we'll know in the future, or maybe we not.
Or not.
The best thing is the reindeers love it here. And they thrive.
They thrive, and they're thriving because we have regulated hunting. Yeah. If we wouldn't, they wouldn't be thriving, and we would prefer to do humane hunting than of them starving.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome, of course. So I just want to add, because we are here in the middle of Jökuldalur Valley, that from this region we have a lot of famous poets that are from Iceland that used to do an Icelandic kind of poetry. Icelandic poetry really is strict and with a lot of rules and regulations. And I just want to finish this episode with reading you one of mine. And I hope that you can hear from the Icelandic why we do it this way. Ævintýralækur lind loga glóð á hverjum tind, dalnum ég frá æsku ann, oft ég fer að skoða hann. Úfinn þúst í þurra mó, þar best að finna ró, tóftar barð besti stóll, brosir við mér næsti hóll. Þar sem heyri styrrind í, djúpri lautu sit ég í, við vangan gælir gulleitt blóm, gæsin kvakar sínum róm. Heiðar drottning dala fljóð, Dagný Páls öllu góð.
Wow, that sounds very good. I did not understand a word, but I'm gonna go look back and try to find the meaning, or maybe I'll ask you after this episode. But thanks a lot for your time and patience and giving me and my audience so much of information. Makes us even more curious. Thanks a lot again. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Cheers.